So I've made a series of videos based on the Ansoff matrix. Each video looks specifically at one of the strategies, and this video is for diversification. So however, before I start, let's consider what Igor Ansoff's matrix is. These are growth strategies focused on product and market. When we consider a market, we must remember that it involves buyers and sellers. So how will this seller target buyers? Will it be existing buyers, new buyers? Will it be with their existing products, or have they tweaked and developed new products? So to start, diversification. Diversification is strategies which means high risk. The reason why it means high risk is not only does it consider new markets, but it does so with new products. So this is deemed the highest risk strategy of Ansoff. However, the risk can be categorized depending on the type of diversification. So for example, you can have related and unrelated diversification, and clearly related would be less risky than unrelated due to the similarities in the market and the product. So let's consider some examples.
You put your hands under the dryer, rub them a bit, then give up and wipe your hands on your trousers. We all do this. Now, we were experimenting with something called air blade technology, and it dawned on me that this would be brilliant for drying hands. Instead of the old evaporation system, which blows all sorts of bacteria at you, we came up with two blades of high-pressure, purified air, which literally wipe off the water. It's a really satisfying solution to something that's always annoyed me.
Designing and engineering the Dyson Pure Cool Link purifier was more than just creating an effective purifier. Dyson engineers questioned, scrutinized, and crafted every part of the machine, designing it to have a small footprint to fit anywhere in the home.
Its powerful digital motor and intelligent heat control, the Dyson Supersonic hairdryer now features new attachments to style, define, or shape different types of hair for fast drying with no extreme heat.
So Dyson, they're known for their innovative nature, and their engineering of products have made them world renowned. And it could be argued that their technical and scientific knowledge allows them to calculate the risks of diversification really well. They've been able to embed similar technologies to new products in new markets, which they believe they can improve upon the existing offerings from other brands. So by Dyson doing this, and not just focusing on vacuum cleaners, they're spreading their risk out over several products. Example, hand and hair dryers, fans, and of course vacuum cleaners. So this enables them to achieve risk-bearing economies of scale. So they can spread the cost of uncertainty over a wider range of activities, which helps to reduce unit costs, but it also places them in a better position if one of their markets sees a slowdown, for whatever reason it might be. So it relates to that famous saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because if something happens to that basket, then. But it's also worth noting that Dyson have sometimes been too creative in their diversification and spent money researching and developing only for them to realise it might not be justified and worth the risk, such as electric cars. Anyway, other benefits associated with diversification is that your brand is gaining exposure in markets it never was associated with before. Sometimes this can be a risk, as customers might not register your brand for such a product, but if you do it well, do it like Dyson has, then customers will recognise that there is no limits for what this company is capable of. And this creates a brand image which represents such power. As mentioned before, it is high risk, but then that also means high return. There is much greater sales potential from new markets with new products, as you've never operated in them before. You've got a new pool of buyers to target, which is mass in population size. And not only does it help to achieve economies of scale, but also scope. Again, think how Dyson has been able to use existing R&D to develop new products. How they've been able to use existing capital to produce not just the vacuum cleaner, but also the fan. And again, making efficient use of their resources. Yet, the fact remains, it is still high risk. So, meaning high chance of failure. You are new to the market and product, therefore you lack experience. There's a greater level of research which is required. You've got no knowledge of the market or of the products within that market, and therefore extensive market research is required. Often companies believe the risk is too great, but nevertheless want to expand and grow in a diversified way. So what they sometimes do is they choose to do so externally. So rather than organically, it means to acquire or merge rather than do it themselves internally. In this way, they're able to use a firm already experienced in new markets with products. But nevertheless, some companies do it organically. And one example of a company that has mostly been successful with their diversification is Virgin. But still, Virgin have diversified into markets which has seen failure. So I'm going to give you an example of that failure now.
I've heard the story.
You're not old enough. Yeah, so he invented Virgin Cola to take on Coke, and he did this big thing where, funnily enough, he drove a tank into Times Square and pretended to blow up the Coca-Cola sign.
He tries his luck with everything, doesn't he?
But
it tanked though, didn't it?
Well, what happened was Coke saw it, and again, I think anything Virgin did, they do pretty well, well funded. Richard's super well liked, especially in the UK in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. He's the guy that when people are trapped in Iraq in the 90s, he's sending his planes over to bring them back for free. So people just loved him. Personal friend of Diana's. And it's just, obviously knighted, and, he wanted to run the lottery for free and give all the money back to the people, so it's really hard to kind of, attack Richard as such. So Coke took it really seriously. They threw they call it their SWAT team actually. They put their business SWAT team on like a DC-10 on a plane, flew them from the UK to the US, and overnight, all of his product was gone off the shelves.
No way.
Yeah, it all went. Funnily enough, the woman who led that team is now his personal bank manager. So he's actually gets because they did such a good job. The mistake he made, and I've talked about this a lot, so he wouldn't mind me saying this. The mistake they made is they took on Coke with product really wasn't any better. He would say that it was better, and all their taste tests, people told them it was better. But I never drank Virgin Coke and thought it was better, personally. But I also don't particularly like Coke. Yeah. I think if you launch Coke now, to your point, I don't think you get anywhere because people will go, "What's this?" No. It's just, it's an icon and always will be. But yeah, he took them on and he didn't have a better proposition. And I think if you don't have, a world-class product, brand or service, you might get away with it for a bit, but ultimately you're going to get caught out. And it just wasn't a better product.
You arrived in the studio, or to the studio this morning, driving a tank. You are going to go down Fifth Avenue later, and then you're going to head into Times Square and break that tank through a wall of Coke and Pepsi to say you're going to liberate the Americans from these two soft drink giants.
What I learned from it was if you're going to take on the biggest company in the world, make sure that you take them on with a much better quality of product than theirs.